I think in recent weeks it's been known that teams were calling about a couple of our players, in particular Leandro. He's got an expiring contract, and generally that opens up a few doors. And Leandro's talent is obviously undeniable, and what he was doing for our team, providing a lot of scoring punch off the bench, was certainly something that I think was intriguing to some of the teams out there that are making a run in the playoffs or contenders. So this deal was also kind of discussed as a possibility to free up some space at one point a few weeks back, so that we might go out and sign a player. There was some known interest in Wilson Chandler, a free agent at the time. We decided to go a different direction in that situation, but at that point, the discussions were still being had with respect to whether or not Leandro would be moved. I had a lot of discussion with Leandro directly. We talked about what would be an interesting or good situation for him. We concluded that we would do it only if it made sense for both sides, and I think he did have a preference to stay. He made that clear, but he understood also that we have an obligation to do what we can to make this team better right now, and what this deal accomplishes is really twofold. It allows us to open up a tremendous amount of flexibility as we go into what I'll call the postseason, pre-draft, pre-free agency trade season, if you will. And it also enables us to make sure that we're getting every opportunity to observe and play the young players that are on this team. And, that's like the Jared Baylesses of the world and, Gary Forbes. So that we can actually see what they bring to the table as we make decisions on their situations. There's roughly about 41 days left in the season. I viewed this as a great opportunity for Leandro to go to a playoff team, a young upstart team that really does need some scoring punch off the bench right now. It is an Eastern Conference team, and I know that normally would not be something you like to do, take care of a team like that, but this is really a positive situation, not only for Leandro, but it's positive for us, because of the flexibility that it opens up. And, right now we're all about making this team better, taking steps forward, and although we're losing some talent on the floor, we think this creates more flexibility, more options for us as we continue to build this roster.
How busy of a trade deadline day was this for you? Was this one of the few deals, or was there a lot of conversation on many players?
I pretty much think they're all about the same. There's a lot of conversation. Phone companies certainly get rich during this time, the number of phone calls that are made. But at the end of the day, there's a number of, variables as you look at trying to improve your team. Every team in the league is at a different spot or different position right now. So we're basically, a team that's looking to get better. We're a team with options right now because we had some cap space. That opens up some more opportunities for possible trades, acquiring assets potentially where teams are looking to dump contracts. There wasn't enough of a reason to move on another type of deal like that right now. We did look at a few of those. We analyzed the players. We did a lot of background work and due diligence on those players in recent weeks. But there were some surprising young players' names out there that again, we felt like, we could either wait until this summer's free agency to address, those same kind of players or acquire those same kind of players without committing to anything now. And what we've talked about all along is not only creating cap space, but preserving maximum cap flexibility going into July 1 free agency. So what we've done is we've enhanced our opportunities now before July, and, we'll try to take advantage of that, again, pre-draft, post-draft, and leading right into the free agency period. And then we're still set to have roughly $10.5 million hard, to go to market with right now as far as free agent dollars on July 1. So we're kind of set up pre-July 1 and post-July 1 to make some moves if the right moves come along.
Was there any interest in Jose at all?
I don't like to discuss players that are under contract, and still on the roster. He's having a great year, and suffice it to say that there were a number of teams out there that are looking for starter quality point guards, and there were several teams that inquired, but at the end of the day, Jose is an important piece to us right now. He is our number one point guard. He's our starting point guard, and until we're in a position to replace that obviously is going to, stay the case. We like what he's doing with this group. I think he's really playing at a high level under Coach Casey, and some of the things that we were worried about in the past. With several of our players defensively has been answered by, the way we're playing good team defense now. And I think that, again, Jose is having a great season, and we're going to continue to see where that goes with this group. But, teams were very interested in Jose because of the type of success he's having on court right now.
Are you looking at, then, with the amount of flexibility you do have, at putting together your own personal list of options and things that you're going to be looking at before July 1?
Yes, certainly not something I'm going to discuss or divulge today, but we are always, planning. We are always, pontificating how we can make this team better and what that space might result in terms of potential scenarios. We've already talked to, even in the last few days, if we were to make this deal, then what could we do with that space potentially? But, as of 3 o'clock today, the trade market is closed officially until the end of the regular season. The day our season ends, we'll be in a position to make deals with non-playoff teams. As other teams exit the playoffs, those teams will then become in play, but we certainly can be talking to teams throughout that time period. And once we lead into the draft time, there's a lot of different things flying always at that point. And to be poised, to pounce on that opportunity or whatever that opportunity is, we're going to have the most cap space, I believe, in the league at that point with the $10, $11, $12 million that it's going to result in. And, we feel good about that. That's another tool to utilize as we try to make this team better. Again, it's important to note if someone's trading a contract into that space, then that space will count, that contract will count toward cap flexibility going forward. So if we do make a deal prior to July 1, it means basically that we would be utilizing some of the space we have available to us because we predetermined that that's a good use of the dollars that are there. So, we'll see how it all plays out, but we will have maximum flexibility. So it's great.
Do you feel good going in? You're getting Valanciunas probably next year, and then your own first round, and then Indiana second round. Do you feel good going into that draft? I feel great going into this draft. As we like to say upstairs, we've already got the second best player in the draft. If you look at Jonas compared to the rest of the field, we think he would be number 2 on the board right now, maybe to a certain particular player. But at the end of the day, we're going to have another high pick. There's going to be some talk that this was about perhaps taking a piece away from the team. That's not the case. This was really about creating that flexibility and also developing some of these other players. But at the end of the day, we are taking some talent away, and we'll have to see, which players step up and how that affects the draft status. But, we're looking, as we do every time we step on the court, to go out there and try to win a game and try to learn and try to grow as an organization every time we step on the floor. So there's a lot at stake as we, close this season down and look at that draft and prepare for that draft. But, based on our current record, based on a projected season finish, we're going to stand, in a position, we will stand in a position to add another quality talent, possibly a top 5 talent to this team. So, the addition of Valanciunas, the addition of a new player that we might select, the flexibility that could net another player, we feel very good about where we stand. Okay.
Any dream names you'd like to throw out as a possibility with your $10 or $11 million?
No, can't talk about free agency, and it's against the rules. Anybody else?
How much stock do you put into the March Madness tournament going on? As a GM, obviously guys that shine there, it's a bigger stage, and do you guys take that into account? Or
I think we've had this draft really well covered and well scouted from an early date. During the lockout, there was a lot more time for us to spend on the road, and there was also a bulk of games in a condensed schedule that made it very easy to go out and see a lot of the top prospects early. So I would tell you that I've probably seen several of the top 10 prospects multiple times, 2, 3, 4 times live. I know that Ed Stefanski and Mark Eversley and others have been out and done the same thing, if not more. We're watching the tournament, obviously, and that's always something that you kind of take into account. The pressure's a little bit higher. There's a little bit more at stake. This is a, you win or you go home scenario. Sometimes that really brings the best out of certain players. But you got to be careful. You can be fooled by that sometimes as well. And, we do put stock in what we call a body of work. There's, a lot of games that we've scouted live. There's a whole element to the draft that we haven't even begun yet. As you know, once the names are in officially, we go through, the background checks. We go through the personality tests. We go through the, physical testing and the workouts that we have here. And it's psychological testing. All of that is really what ultimately kind of forms that final picture. So, again, we're excited about the draft, and yes, we're even excited about watching some of these top prospects compete in the tournament right now, but it's only going to be one piece of the puzzle as we look at the full body of work.